Welcome back to Yang Daily. I'll be your host, Alex Cheney, bringing you all the Yang news you need to live your life right. Mostly more disgusting news from Trump today, I'm afraid, but we do have some congressional race news as well. Shout out to our Tier 3 patrons, Peter Park and Shay Meehan, as well as all our other patrons. For as long as this podcast can be funded, it will be due to your support. I should have specified yesterday, but the social media poll is for everyone, not just patrons. Just click the Google link below to participate. So far, we have a grand total of 1 response. Bit underwhelming. I can't make the podcast better without your feedback, so please help me out. Trump was discharged from the hospital and back to the White House today after his medical team reported 72 hours since the last fever and oxygen levels normal. Though, after so many conflicting reports on his health so far, there is little trust in the words of his medical team, who have operated more like a PR crew than doctors. Trump tweeted that he learned a lot about COVID from having it, calling it real school. Unfortunately, he immediately followed that up by taking a ride around the hospital in a hermetically sealed vehicle, putting his Secret Service riding with him at extremely high risk of infection, all so that he could wave to his fans. You can take Trump to school, but you can't make him learn or grow a conscience. As demonstrated by his other tweet, if anyone was delusionally optimistic enough to think that Trump would turn over a new leaf from this, guess again, because he tweeted, quote, "Feeling really good, don't be afraid of COVID, don't let it dominate your life. We have developed under the Trump administration some really great drugs and knowledge. I feel better than I did 20 years ago," end quote. Possibly because he's still high, the reality that he had trouble breathing for multiple days, had to go to the hospital, was administered very strong drugs, and still appears to be having trouble breathing, as evidenced in a video of him gasping on the White House balcony, has somehow disappeared from Trump's recollection of the event. Exactly as I expected, he's going to pretend nothing happened, and it was as minor as a cold, and go right on peddling his deadly propaganda that has already killed 210,000 Americans. His campaign aide was equally insane, going on Fox and explaining how she sees Trump catching COVID as a reason to trust him over Biden on the issue, due to his now personal experience with the virus. Yeah, that's a puzzler. She seems to think that people want a leader who will help them catch the virus rather than avoid it. Or maybe in the death cult of Trumpism, failure is a virtue. Makes sense, there'd be not much to praise otherwise. The official count of infections from Barrett's party at the White House is now up to 31, including Kellyanne Conway's young daughter, who has probably been the sole voice of truth on the goings-on in the White House via TikTok. Most recently, she reported that Trump is full of it when he says he's getting better. She also reported her mother continued to not wear a mask in the house, even after she knew that she'd been exposed to COVID. This is what you'd call child abuse. Anand may have best captured the most recent hypocritical crimes against humanity of our president in saying, quote, "He hosted a super spreader event to honor a justice who would have the government control your body but refuse the duty to care for it. And when the virus that he helped go around came around, he availed of the health care he would deny others, financed by the taxes he refuses to pay." End quote. Today has been unofficially declared National COVID-19 Day of Remembrance for over 200,000 people who have died of the virus. To mark the occasion, demonstrators set up 20,000 empty chairs on the mall within view of the White House, to represent the heart-wrenching empty seats at the kitchen table that Joe Biden talked about at the debate. It's a profound picture. I recommend clicking the link below to see it for yourself. Hard to imagine that it's less than a tenth of the Americans we've lost. A Scottish economist is warning that UBI is needed to maintain the economy via bolstering consumer spending. He also notes that it would enable people to quarantine as needed to avoid spreading COVID. Are you hearing this, Senate GOP and House Dems? Is this thing on? Vala Afshar shared a pretty heartwarming video clip today of some great efforts by teachers in celebration of World Teacher Day. It's a good clip, and I absolutely support giving kudos for teachers who go above and beyond. That said, I do want to challenge what seems to be the mainstream narrative around teaching, that we should expect all teachers to be these superhuman creatures capable of being everything to everyone. The teachers in the video clip are exceptional because their job is insanely demanding. Teachers don't just need more pay, and we don't just need to fire the bad ones. The profession needs fewer responsibilities so that they can focus on what matters and do it well. We can't keep asking teachers to do 50 different jobs on their own and then expect these sorts of results. It's like expecting one person to run a whole assembly line and do a stellar job of it because nobody can afford for the assembly line to break down. It's not reasonable, and it doesn't do any favors for either the kids or the teachers. If we broke the job up into smaller pieces and had multiple adults working together in each classroom, we would have a lot more people willing to do the job and a lot better results. Tuesday night, Yang and Kumail Nanjiani will be hosting a grassroots fundraiser for Virginia's Qasim Rashid at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, link below. Great news for David Kim today. A poll with I Side With came back with Kim beating his incumbent opponent Gomez 54-46. I Side With is not a strict pollster, so the accuracy is questionable, but this is a really good sign nonetheless. Go Kim! Humanity Forward is looking for feedback from small business owners about their pandemic experiences. If that's you, send a short video with your story to stories@movehumanityforward.com. Important article from Anand interviewing journalist and scholar of authoritarianism, Sarah Kenzior. Sarah has studied authoritarianism deeply. Though many called her an alarmist, she has a strong record of being right. Sarah knew the conditions were ripe in America in 2015 for a dictator to take power. Quote, "Every country that becomes a dictatorship started with a chorus of people saying, 'It can't happen here.' Well, it can happen anywhere. And in 2015, the US was extremely vulnerable to autocracy. We had experienced 14 years of eroded institutional trust due to 9/11 and the illegal wars of its aftermath. We had endured unremedied economic hardship, and we were also contending with hyperpartisanship, a rise in racist violence, and the upheaval of digital technology. Those are the conditions where demagogues emerge. And Trump launched his campaign by calling Mexicans rapists and murderers. It was obvious he was going to campaign as a demagogue to rule as an autocrat. Trump had the full force of the GOP and its goal of destroying government, which dates back to the Reagan era, behind him, in addition to having led a life immersed in organized crime, business, media, and entertainment. He was trained by Roy Cohn in blackmail, bribery, and other mobster tactics. He also was backed by sophisticated foreign autocrats and oligarchs who were using him as a vehicle for their own agendas. That adds up to an incredible threat." End quote. Most alarming, Sarah points out that Trump is actually worse for America than the dictators he models himself after, such as Putin, Stalin, or Hitler, because Trump is not looking to rule, he's looking to loot and plunder. This means he does not care if America survives his leadership. Quote, "Is he incompetent at governing, navigating bureaucracy, and strengthening America's position in the world? Yeah, he probably would be, if he ever tried to do those things. But that's not why he's there. He's in office to destroy this country and enrich himself, and he's very good at that. He's very skilled at that, and he spent his life building up those skills. The problem is that the US political establishment insists on seeing everything through a lens that dismisses the idea that Trump genuinely has no interest in serving this country. A fascist wants to embody and expand the state and usually has imperial ambitions, whereas Trump wants to destroy the US. He wants to strip it down and sell it for parts to both domestic and foreign backers. His cohort's ambitions are similar to what oligarchs and other hyper-capitalists did to the USSR after its collapse, which is not surprising because the Kremlin and an associated network of plutocrats and oligarchs are the prime backers of this operation." End quote. Sarah says that the best thing we can do is to be honest, speak out, alert our fellow citizens to what is happening under their noses. And, of course, vote. This may be the most important election in American history. We've never before faced a president who seeks to abolish democracy. This may well decide whether America lives or dies. We all have a role to play in steering the course of history now. Check the links for a website that can match you with volunteering opportunities that fit your interests, talents, and circumstances. It's a great resource to help you do your part for democracy. And that'll do it for today's Yang Daily. Help me with the social media poll, give thanks to the teachers in your life, share your story with Humanity Forward, bookmark and share the Authoritarian article, check out the volunteering tool, help recruit other organizations to the cause and get everyone to sign the UBI petition, flood Congress and Trump with calls, tweets, and letters using the Resist bot or Income Movement easy contacts below. If you need help, consult Humanity Forward, the Income Movement Aid Database, the Mission Asset Fund, United Way, or the H3 podcast thread. And don't forget to Yang Daily.